Welcome back, traders, to this week's analysis of DXY dollar index. My name is Vic. Let's look at what dollar has been doing. In the market, there is a lot of uncertainty at the moment related to dollar. There are several media reports, blog posts, news items which are coming out that dollar is going down and this and that. But as technical analyst, what you should do is just look at the chart. What chart is telling you? Because ultimately, what has happened before and what's happening in the market is being shown on the chart, right? So if you see a candle like this, right, that obviously means that market was bullish at the time. It may or may not have huge volume, but ultimately the truth of the matter is that price actually went from this place to this place, right? And this was the highest point. So what you see on the chart is the ultimate truth, right? What has actually happened. Now, depending on what has already happened, you can try to predict the future. You cannot actually predict it, but you can try to predict it, because in markets, um, similar kind of patterns get on repeated all the time, right? They keep on repeating with certain frequency and certain accuracy. So that can become your guidance mechanism, and that's what the technical analysis is based on. Okay, so you may have a different reason, different kind of bias based on fundamentals, but when you're acting as a technical analyst, you need to just focus on what charts are telling you. Okay, so this is what we have on DXY. Now, we'll come to this, all of these levels which we have identified in the previous analysis, which you have, if you have not seen that, go and check it out, because last week I covered in-depth analysis of how we actually came up with these levels. These levels are still intact; they are still important. So I'm not going to actually revise all of them. But just to give you a little bit of idea, what I was just telling you about is this. I just hide this, and if I show you the weekly time frame, what it is telling you. I know that it is going down right now, but you see the market fell down, it went up, and now it is coming back to retest that particular low which was created here, right? And what will happen is that it is probably going to create a bear trap in the market. As soon as the this point is actually hit, you see it has tried several times already, but with very little strength. Tried here up, and tried here, and now it is trying. It's barely hanging with its nails. So if the market actually breaks through this, even violates this low, then a lot of traders will think, according to their bias, which has been fed into their minds, that the dollar is going to go down forever, right? Something like that. But what you should do is think a little bit alternatively. So if the market actually breaks through this level, right, it is expected to come down to somewhere around here, which is going to, right, retest this mid of the Bollinger Band, right? So I'm not going to show you that, but that's one thing. And you see most of the traders will start taking short positions here, or use the DXY going down, and use that fact to take long positions in other currency pairs and other markets. But you'll have to be very, very careful. That market usually creates a divergence kind of setup here, and once the market has broken this, you will see market picking up a momentum towards the upside again. So that is a possibility. You should always consider the other possibility. Other thing is that if the market actually goes through, falling through that, you'll see that 91, around 91 level, we have this particular structure, but a better level will be around 90, 89 to 90 level here. Okay, and after that the market can start to move up. So these are two possibilities. And one more thing, as a as a kind of warning, this month is actually kind of weird one. The reason behind this is because the weekend is done. We are done with the last week of November, but not exactly, because then Monday is actually the last day of the month. So a lot of things can change in one day. So what we can expect is actually a huge move up and down on the last day. It can actually violate this, create a bear trap, and then start to move upwards, right? This is what I was actually expecting in last week. In my last analysis, I mentioned there could be a sudden move. Actually, there was a sudden move here. As soon as the market came, within few hours, it started to move very higher, and that kind of created bull trap. Now similar sort of thing can happen here. If it goes through this, A lot of people will think that this was going to go down even further down, and then it will start to move upwards. And if that happens, what we are looking at is actually a W pattern here, and which basically puts our target near about this level, which is 95 to 96 level or so. Okay, so let's go back and bring in our original analysis. Actually, even before that, let me take a step back. And most of the people actually start looking at monthly time frames as a higher time frame. But if you go to the 12-month time frame, what you will notice that the current year has been actually kind of bearish. But even before that, you will notice that we have a W pattern which actually does not complete here. If you know how to measure these W patterns, you will notice that it is going to be around 107, around that level. And you see this point, which is 87, 89 point, which I was just mentioning just now. um, it is above 88, so it's close to 89 something, right? That is the last, point where it was bullish. And you see this sort of candle which actually happens after the formation of these two candles, that is not a good sign. This actually is usually a sign of a bear trap. Usually price comes down and then starts to move suddenly upwards, so you'll have to be very, very careful with this. However, on the bearish side of things, if the market keeps on falling, the maximum it can go up to is near about 89 or so, which is this mid of the Bollinger Band again. And that will be a retest of that, and where the price can actually bounce back up. So that's what we have in there. And that will also um, coincide with the previous structure level that we had, right? So this is a very good demand zone that we have, and this will also act as the valley of this double top sort of pattern which actually formed. Okay, so this is, if this is a double top, then this is the neck of that double top. And if the market is going down, then you can expect huge bounce from here upwards. So there are several possibilities right now. If I go to the weekly time frame once again and bring in original analysis, okay, so this is what we are looking at. All of these levels are still valid, and we were expecting market to move upwards, which it did not. So that means we cannot just have those arrows in there, but we were expecting it to come down to, on the bearish side, we were expecting it to come down to 91.725, which it almost has reached, but it not quite. And technical analysis, that we need to be very, very accurate. We need to be very, very careful with the measurements. So it hasn't actually reached 91.725, but and it may not actually go through that, because it may create a double bottom here, as I mentioned before. And if it starts to fall down, the next one we are going to look at is 91.426, near about that. And if that is broken as well, then we are looking for this, right? And each of these levels, make sure that you are actually playing it nicely. You are looking at confirmation, you are studying the market structure, because at any moment in time there can be spikes to touch any of these levels, and then market can reverse. So that's what we're looking at on DXY. So there is a lot of volatility which is coming your way on the last day of November, or maybe the early week of December. So you'll have to be very, very careful. Okay. So that's my analysis on DXY. Hope you enjoyed this. If you did, please consider leaving a like or and sharing this with other traders, and put in a comment below. Let me know what you think about this analysis. If there is any feedback, or what is your opinion on this analysis, or then if you have any questions, let me know. Right? I'll see you in the next one.